For some, high school is a time of being young and having fun with friends. For others, high school can be a time of self-discovery and finding one's place in everything. For a small group of high schoolers in the heart of Arizona in the 2010s, it was a little bit of both, with something extra on the side, that at the end of the day proved to be something truly special. April of 2016 saw a coming together of like-minded individuals who each desired to become filmmakers in their own right.
I think what just inspired me to start making short films was just storytelling. I love storytelling ever since I was about 8 or so. I've been writing stories. When I was about 9, my dad brought home a camcorder and I filmed me playing with my stuffed animals trying to tell a story. I did a couple things like that as I was younger, but then what really got it going with live action short films and what we saw me doing in high school and beyond it was Star Wars. Star Wars just spoke to me, inspired me, and combining that with already the love I had of storytelling, it just made me want to make that. I saw on screen all the Star Wars movies and the shows, and I wanted to make something like that. I wanted to be the next, big guy.
What inspired me to start making short films? I'll never forget that day in high school. I was walking down the hall and I was with Nick Johnson, and I took out this piece of paper and it said Batman on it, and I told Nick, I'm like, hey, I want to make a full-on movie. And Nick looked at me like I was stupid. I told him, I literally want to make a full movie, but that's not what happened. Obviously, we kind of just trimmed it heavily until a 10-minute movie. But I honestly, the truth is, I really don't have an answer. It just kind of came to me one day. I was just like, I really want to make a movie. I really don't know why. I think it was always inside of me that I love movies and I love, writing, and I've always written. Before the films, I tried to write a lot of novels. I haven't finished them, but I've always loved writing. I've always come up with stories in my head growing up. And so, that day, writing that piece of paper and giving it to Nick Johnson in the hallway, I don't have I think it was just natural. I think it just came to me one day. I just wanted to make a film, and then, it blossomed into something so much more. But I think I just love characters and stories and themes and messages. So at the end of the day, it's just a natural thing to me. And that's what's important to me.
That's actually a very interesting story. And it starts all the way back in, I think it was either freshman or sophomore year of high school. Basically me and Josh and Nick, we would walk home together from school, and Josh, ever the nerd, he brought lightsabers with him, and we would lightsaber fight on the way home. And we would go to his house and we would lightsaber fight some more. Then the big change happened. We started to record the lightsaber fights. We started to have dorky dialogue at the beginning of the fight. We started to have planned ends for the fight. We started to choreograph it. And then, stories were born. And it was just thrilling to be behind the camera, in front of the camera, crafting it, seeing it go up on the internet, and it was then that I realized that's what I wanted to do.
What inspired me to start making short films? I've always been very into movies, but there was a channel called Corridor Digital that made short films and different video editing techniques and stuff. They talked about visual effects a lot, and that kind of got me on the whole kick.
Honestly, when I talked to Chris Yackerson, he was like, "Oh, I got to make these films, blah blah." I'm like, "Oh, that's." To be honest, I did it originally as a joke with some of my friends, like, oh, if I can get into these YouTube videos, they'll screen cap me and we'll make emojis out of it or something. And so it was mainly for a meme, but then honestly, hell, I became good friends with everyone in there, so it became pretty fun, it became authentic. Started off as kind of ironic, but it became authentic.
I just got invited to do it with Cole and Nick, I believe was the first people who came together with the video. After that, I just had some fun with it, and after a while I wanted to express myself in my own videos.
I think what inspired me to start making short films, was just being in theater class with Josh. He was very silly, very high energy when it came to acting in theater, and I wanted to do more stuff with him, and I wanted to feel like I was involved with a group of friends and actually having a group of guy friends. That was probably the first group of guy friends that I actually like had solidified. So yeah, I think just the camaraderie of being with people is what got me to get into doing short films with them. I would love to do a reprise of something or do another short film with that group of guys just because of how fun it was. I don't know how relationships are going with everybody, but if we can get a group of guys back together to do something new, I would love to.
Not really anything in particular, just seemed like something fun to do, and that's how I got started doing this. It just seemed like fun, and it was.
Cole Steiner and Nick Johnson. If it wasn't for Cole who called me, he was like, yo, you want to be in a short film? I was like, sure. And then the first short film that I was in Campers with Nick, Cole, Chris, Tommy, Eric, all of them. So they got me into it. And then after I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's keep doing it.
The first joint production together was what would go on to be known as Batman 1 First Contact, which would go on to span several Batman sequels over the next few months.
So the Batman franchise, first off, I think this one is near and dear to my heart just because it kicked off everything, right? Like, you know, it kicked off this film era, but it also kicked off our friendship as a group. And first off, I wouldn't even be here where I am now if it wasn't for Batman. I mean, the only reason I'm sitting here in Tennessee is because I tried to go to Atlanta to be in the film industry, and the whole reason why I tried to go to Atlanta was because I wanted to shoot a Batman movie one day with Nick Johnson. So, yeah, I mean, first off, the first one is an iconic classic. It's near and dear to my heart. I'm sure everyone in this documentary is saying that. But, you know, the fact that we wanted to do a second one, I mean, it just goes to show that we wanted to keep doing this. Like, Batman was the first one where we were like, you know what, let's keep it going. Like, we want to keep making films. Obviously, the next 3 weren't very good, but you know, I had a lot of fun making every single one of them. You know, 4 and 5 were really fun to make. You know, we introduced we introduced a bunch of new characters from the actual comics. But I think 6 is my favorite quality-wise. That one was an upgrade for sure, and we were starting to mature a little bit. Not a lot, but we were starting to take it a little bit more serious with you know, better costumes and makeup, and we were trying harder. It wasn't like, you know, where we are today, but it was. You could definitely see like a spike in improvement. And yeah, I mean, all 6 of them, so much fun. I love doing every single one, and honestly, I wish I could go back and do them again. And I didn't forget about Batman Origins. That one, there is a prequel, which is kind of like a comedy at this point. And then there's also the 3.5, which I did forget about, but I'm bringing it up now. So, yeah, I'm grateful that I was able to work on them, and you know, had so much fun.
In addition to the Batman short films, creative juices were flowing all around, with several other franchises, original and unoriginal, developed in addition to countless other one-offs over the next couple of years.
The Adventures of Darth Momo series is actually kind of interesting because it didn't actually really start with me, and I don't know if it was really intended to be about Darth Momo. It was just Nick Robidoux who said, hey, let's make a Star Wars short, and I think Yak needed a name for me, so he just called me Darth Momo because that was my YouTube channel at the time. And then I just kind of turned it into an Adventures of Darth Momo, and then eventually I just kind of started doing my own thing with it. The first couple weren't actually really written by me or created, but going forward with most of them, after maybe the 5th one or so, is really where I started to pick off with that. I had plans for about 15 or so, and then I got to the 14th one. I just never got around to doing the 15th one. Just got busy with other things in life. But then finally I decided, I'm like, you know what, after making the My Lego Clone War, I'm like, it feels good to tie up loose ends like that. Let's go back and do the Darth Momo final episode, and I kind of rewrote it from what I originally had, and I I finished it off, and that's it. It's definitely not great. It's actually probably bad, and for a lot of the videos, and there's several of them that really like are kind of almost filler. But I just love how it's like from one beginning to the end, like it tells a long story, and I don't know, just how it all works and how it ends and whatnot. I find it fascinating despite its creative flaws.
So the Indiana Jones franchise, hands down, probably my favorite one that I've done. First off, Indiana Jones is one of my favorite franchises in film history. So of course I had to make it, and the trilogy that I made is probably one of the better trilogies. I would say Indiana Jones and Back to the Future are probably the best trilogies. The first one, you could tell it was made in 2016. Like, you could tell we were starting out, but it still has this like charm to it. The story is there, the characters are fun. Lance is involved in that one too, and I just love the way it was directed. Like, you know, it was just really good for especially coming off of Batman and starting out. Like, I actually really enjoy the first one. It obviously has a lot of bad audio quality, but then we came out with the second one. Man, I love the second one. We implemented, you know, German. We were speaking German in it. The directing and the storytelling was just, it's never been done before. I don't believe that we did it before. Maybe I'm forgetting something, but I remember writing it through the point of view of the villain, which was really cool. The only thing I regret with the second one is filming on a playground, which at the time Josh Palmer also pointed that out. And looking at it now, I'm like, yeah, I probably should have filmed that somewhere else. But I had a lot of fun making that, and I love how that one was directed. And then the third one is just killer. Like, I love the third one. We basically we implemented the positives of both 1 and 2 and just kind of shoved them all together into 3. You know, we're at this really cool location. We're speaking German again. The story is phenomenal. It's really original. And then there's a little Easter egg at the end that kind of ties it all up into a bow. So Indiana Jones, I had so much fun making it. I loved playing Indiana Jones, and everyone involved really did have fun with that series. So the Mission Impossible franchise, this is probably, you know, my favorite. This and Indiana Jones are probably my favorite parody franchises that I tried to do. I had so much fun with Mission Impossible. I love every single one of them. You know, the stunts, quote unquote, for being a bunch of kids in high school. I mean, I'm actually pretty proud of it. I had a lot of fun doing it, and you know, there was a lot of people involved. There was a lot of there's just also a lot of them. Like, there's 5 of them, and you know, I think I'll never forget this. You know, the first one, we were starting with to experiment with new equipment, and I'll never forget Josh telling me, like, hey man, you're going a little bit too over the board with the equipment, because I was using Final Cut Pro, and I was like, you know, freaking out about it because it was so cool. And looking back at that now, I'm like, yeah, you know what, Josh, you're right. There's a little bit too much equipment being just flashed in our faces. So that was fun. But yeah, I mean, every single one of those I had a blast making. 5 is my favorite, hands down. You know, jumping off my house. I didn't think I would actually do that, but I did. I jumped off my house into a moving car, which was very stupid and very dangerous, but I did it anyway. I also ran on the roof of my own house, which was also very stupid and very dangerous. But, I mean, it makes for a great documentary, right? That's why we're here. Yeah, I mean, again, if I had a chance to do it all over again, I would. I mean, I love making all of them. And the third one has Lance in it. He's not here today. He's in Arizona, but I mean, I wish he was here. Lance being a part of he was also a part of the Batmans, but you know, being a part of Mission Impossible directly was really fun. So, I love those films.
The Rodderverse. I want to talk about the Rodderverse. Okay, honestly, I like the Rodderverse. I mean, a lot of the entries in that franchise are a bit poor, and maybe the idea to put all those characters together was a little bit ill-conceived, though I know that Legends is not as bad as people say. the individual ideas I think were really good. I love the story of the Huntress, where it's just this woman seeking revenge on this group of people waging a secret war in the shadows. I think that has a lot of potential that I wish I'd taken further, and I may yet still. We'll see. There's The Object of the Unknown, which I think was okay. It was a great story, and I wish I'd done more with it. So, well, I did. I remade it, and I think that remake was a lot better. I know a lot of other people appreciated that one. But then the centerpiece there, Captain Rodder himself. Me. I like the film. Honestly, it's not the best, but again, it's a guilty pleasure for me. It's one that I'm kind of playfully contemplating revisiting, because I think with my I've gotten better at this, so it could be made better, but I don't know if I will.
The My Lego Rebel Life series is actually a project that I look back on very fondly because, you know, as I said, like, Star Wars is what really inspired me to start making short films and videos and all that. And this was essentially me telling my own creative tale with me and my friends in Star Wars. So it was fun. It could be frustrating and tedious at times, but it was a blast to do overall. It actually wasn't even really supposed to be a thing. I kind of just like did an image compilation of like, this is who I would be, this is who this person would be, etc. And I showed that to the friend group, and everyone was like, you gotta make that. And so I made an episode, and it wasn't as hard as I thought it was gonna be. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'll do a couple more. And then I decided to do 4 more, and I'm like, okay, well, I got a season under my belt. Let's do this. And I made a whole little mini series out of it. I find it fascinating because it's just a lot of content. Like, if you put it together, it's 2 hours, which I think if you put any other franchise together that we've all done, this is the longest one, especially considering then I went back to do 13 episodes of My Lego Clone War. Those were seeds that I kind of always thought of doing, that I kind of maybe planted a seed or 2 here in the original series, and eventually I went back and did it, and it was fun to do. But overall, it's just, that might be one of my personal favorite projects, just because of, you know, just the nature of it and all, despite some of its flaws, as far as just all the various aspects of it goes.
Back to the Future was a trilogy that I probably shouldn't exist, but it does. So Back to the Future, probably, I said Indiana Jones is my favorite, but Back to the Future is also up there. Probably on the, depending on the day, probably Back to the Future is my favorite, or Indiana Jones. You know, they're just that much fun. The first one is a classic. I mean, you know, there's a reason why when I re-uploaded it, it almost got 1,000 views. I think it deserves that because it's genuinely a just fun little short film. It's only 4 minutes long, and it's just a classic. Like, it's hilarious. The story doesn't make any sense at all, but that's not the point. We had so much fun. I mean, I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like, you know, that was pretty smart of me to, you know, to attempt Back to the Future and then just like go to this cowboy town, and that's how we time travel. Like, that was pretty, I always think about that. I'm like, you know, how was I supposed to do a Back to the Future movie? And that was a great way to do that. So that was pretty cool that I was able to come up with that. But yeah, we go back in time. You know, that was also the first one I think Andrew and I worked on together, which was so much fun. He sounds just like Marty. But after that was done, we had so much fun with it. We loved it. And I told Andrew and Josh, I was like, we got to do 2 more. Like, we have to do the trilogy. And it just never got done. We waited, you know, it was pushed back for years. And then finally one day, I approached Josh about it because the Gunman series was actually kind of, at that time, kind of falling apart a little bit. And I was like, you know what, why don't we just film Back to the Future finally? And boom, like, the rest is history. We completed 2, we completed 3, and now we have this amazing trilogy. 2 was just originally a college project, and then I brought it to Josh, and he kind of worked around it and turned it into an actual part 2, and so now that exists. And then 3 was probably the most fun I've had on set. I'll never forget filming 3. You know, that film is just hilarious. It's got the most references. It's a send-off to this era, so 3 is near and dear to my heart as well. But all 3 of them just combined are a beautiful trilogy, really hilarious, really fun. And I honestly think Back to the Future trilogy just kind of represents who we were. Like, we were just a bunch of kids trying to have fun, make parodies of films that inspired us. And I think Back to the Future perfectly displays of this era.
Lego Star Wars The Commander is without a doubt my favorite stop motion work among all of our channels. No offense, Josh. I think I said this in my own documentary about it, but I just love the feel of taking the events of the movies and taking my own characters and finding the little cracks in the actual movies to put them so that they fit in the story without disturbing any canon. I think that the Commander and his squad are a very colorful bunch of characters. And, I mean, you see the clones in a lot of different forms throughout the Clone Wars. You see them vulnerable, you see them characterized, you see them just stock standard. And you don't get that for the droids, and so I thought we should do that for them. And I really like the way it turned out. And I'm considering revisiting the idea, maybe making some more Clone Wars era stories that include Commander Joint, but perhaps don't revolve around him.
So the Gunman franchise, probably the most ambitious franchise we've done. I'm so proud of it. There's so much I could say about the franchise, but basically at the end of the day, we actually got together and made a YouTube series. Like, in the past we made short films. Sure, we did a part 2 and part 3, but the Gunman was the first one where we got together and we're like, we're gonna make a TV show, basically, like a little mini series on YouTube, and that was the Gunman. And just all the work and the effort we went through it, the story, the post-apocalyptic nature of it, so fun. I'll never forget the Gunman. I'm very proud that all 6 are done, and it's an achievement. And honestly, I hope people watch it and get inspired by it. So the Gunman, top tier stuff.
The Gunman is the most ambitious original project we ever did as a collaborative team. And it faced so many challenges. It got sidelined so many times. I never thought it would be finished, but here we are. I'm actually on set doing that now. We just wrapped it. And I'm glad that we did that. It's going to be exciting to see all 6 episodes up on our channels.
Over the course of the next 9 years, hundreds of short films were created by this group of individuals. This culminated in 2 productions in 2025, one being Back to the Third Future, which saw a fitting conclusion to the 00 Studios Back to the Future trilogy, as well as a neat little bow placed on many other fan films from other IPs produced by this group. The other production was The Gunman Episode 6, which ended a 7 years in the making original series from the creatives Cole Steiner, Chris Yackerson, and Jake Henniger. With these 2 productions completed, as well as many of the individuals involved moving on with life, the time of the 9-year era has come to a close. But while the era may be over, the legacy lives on. Closing in on around 250 finished projects, the crew has much proud of.
I think my greatest challenge was just, I don't mean to say this disrespectfully against anyone, because I don't mean it that way at all, but I think just trying to establish myself as a presence. Everybody knew I had the Darth Momo YouTube channel, but a lot of what I was doing on Darth Momo that was at least getting some sort of notoriety was my Rebels reviews. When it came to the short films, it was Chris Yackerson and Cole Steiner who were kind of prominent as far as the short films our group collectively were making. And so because of that, I think people often kind of forget about me and kind of leave me out of the limelight. When if you look at it in reality, I think I've actually probably made the most content, just short film speaking. And then, let alone everything I've done on the Darth Momo YouTube channel. I think John Movies trumps everyone else. But because a lot of that was stuff that I did just by myself, or some of it with my siblings, or it was just Chris, Nick, Robidoux, and I. There wasn't really anything that had the group. I think the only things that really had the group in it were Hunt for the Killer and Grief vs. Spirit. I did the My Lego Rebel Life series. That had everyone in it. But I think because it's stop motion, Lego stop motion, and it wasn't live action, a lot of people just kind of forget about that, or just kind of write it off or ignore it. So I think kind of one of my greatest challenges was just trying to establish my own presence. But I think I've done a lot over the last year of 2024 and 2025 between our ranking videos and several other projects to kind of reassert my dominance that, hey, no, I was just as active as the rest of you guys. I'd made just as many short films, if not more, than everyone else. And I'm a filmmaker just like as big as Chris and Cole were.
What was my greatest challenge filming? Probably understanding that it wasn't good. For the longest time, I'm serious. For the longest time, I would say that a lot of the early films, I was pretty cocky, well, not cocky, but I didn't like see the flaws, and that's all about growth and change. And so, I would say, learning that this is what development looks like. That was the biggest takeaway. I'm just blown away about how like I used to think a lot of these were good, but looking back at it now, it's like no, these a lot of these were really bad, and I'm glad that I that was my biggest challenge, was overcoming that, and I'm glad that I'm able to look at things more openly now, and realize where I've come from, how far as a filmmaker I've come from.
I think my greatest challenge so far was probably moving on after that. After we all started moving our separate ways in 2020, continuing to make films after that, because it's hard making films. You can't just have a good idea, a camera, and a good script. You also need a team. And until you got one of those, you don't have a film. It's why my films dropped off so badly after 2020, because aside from like a lot of school projects and some smaller stuff I did with like Andrew and stuff, I didn't do much.
Making videos that didn't suck ass was my greatest challenge, because they all sucked, and every time I uploaded one, it was kind of trying to overcome that perfectionist in myself that was constantly like, oh, don't upload another one, man, because it sucks. You're never going to do better. So I was constantly trying to fight that side of myself. Perfectionist hurt creativity.
Greatest challenge, putting up with all you guys. Some days you make me want to blow my brains out. Nah, but for real, I guess my biggest challenge was making films. You guys all make your own films, and I'm in them, some of them obviously, but then when I make my films, I'm like I'm 50% of them being completed and turned out. The other two are lost to time, so so I guess that's been my biggest challenge, is actually completing things.
Greatest challenge would probably be some of the drama that we had to deal with along the way. Just stuff that came up of like whose video belongs to who and who deserves credit and that sort of thing. So I'd say that was the greatest challenge, just sorting that out.
Oh, my greatest challenge. Probably doing, I think it was called Alex Rhodes, Secret Agent or something like that. I felt like the star in that one. I had to jump a gate at one point, and I'm not as nimble and awesome as I was back then. Being able to jump that fence was probably one of the biggest challenges I had, and actually doing all of my own stunts in that video, even though it was very minor stuff. It definitely makes me want to go do like fun action film stuff again. All I know is it'd be really hard to do.
Filming with all of you, that was hell. It was just like, it was fun, but it was also like, bro, some places were disorganized, some things were crazy, stupid, funny. Yeah, I don't know. I think just having everybody together and filming, it was just like, damn, this is gonna be chaos, but it's gonna turn out good.
Greatest challenge, trying to keep the peace with everybody.
Well, I don't remember too much, but probably have to be, I say Galaxy Wars. It's just trying to get off the script very young when we did that one, so acting was not the greatest.
There's a lot of videos we've worked on that have had their challenges, both that I was producing and just simply there on set. But I think probably, at least for my experience, of course Gunman 6 was troubling, right? But I think Legends was probably the most troubling, just because even just the lead up to it, you know. And I mean, I don't mean to rag on Legends, because despite how much fun we like to poke at it, it's not the worst thing we've ever made. I wouldn't call it great or amazing, but it's definitely not the worst thing we've done. But just the production was a mess. Even before we did it, everybody was just kind of questioning Chris Yackerson on, why are you doing this? You shouldn't be doing this. And then we got to the set, and it just seemed like nobody really wanted to be there. Nobody really knew why we were there. And then about halfway through, and I definitely, I mean, I think Chris Yackerson has grown as a director. And I don't mean this disrespectfully to him, but I don't think Legends was a really great director role for it, or I don't think he did well as a director on that film. And I mean, it shows. About halfway through, everybody was just kind of done, and then they're like, hey, let's just go up the road to the gas station and get some drinks. We went in 2 vehicles, and while we were on the way there, Hunter Wilson, who was driving the second vehicle, he's like, I want to go see these Los Angeles tunnels. The tunnels where It and later Underground were filmed. And nobody really just kind of said anything to him. And then we got back to the park after getting drinks, and Hunter didn't show up. He had half the crew, and he was just gone. We called him, and he was 8 miles down the road at the Los Angeles tunnels. And we were just, the 4 of us who were there, Cole, Chris, Ara, and I were just kind of like, what the heck is happening? Yeah, Legends was rough. I mean, Gunman 6 was rough too, but Gunman 6, we sort of kind of knew what we were getting into. We knew that it was going to be a troubling production. Legends shouldn't have been, and yet it was.
The most challenging video, for production-wise, was probably MI5, Mission Impossible 5. I remember, you know, we had to cut a lot because I just couldn't do it. Like, I was supposed to get run over by a car, and I couldn't, you know, we literally couldn't do that. Chris, he was in the car and he tried running me over, and I was just too fat to be under the car. But I remember it was super hot. You know, Chris, you know, I don't think he got heat stroke, but he might have. It was getting close to it, so I felt really bad about that. We also cut like an entire section of the film. There's a bunch of deleted scenes that was never used. And also too, like, this was the film that really I changed, because I looked at it and I was like, why am I still doing this? I'm almost 18 years old, or maybe I was 18 years old, and I was making parody films. They weren't that great. I mean, I was just showing up with a camera. We were guerrilla filmmaking. You know, it was just, I think mentally as well, that one I just look back on and I'm like, man, that was not only rough to make, but I kind of wish I didn't make it at the same time, because, you know, I should have been on to more original things. But obviously I love that film, and I'm glad it is my favorite one. But you know, I would say that one was probably the most difficult.
Oh, where to begin? Videos that were challenging to produce. Well, I think I've gone out in length in various documentaries about the difficulties of the Gunman. See, the original Object of the Unknown had a lot of difficulties, a lot of them in post. But I think one of the hardest ones was definitely Xenobacillus, which paid off in the end. It was supposed to be like a 3-day shoot. Lots of things went wrong, and it turned into a 5-day shoot. On one of the days, the entire crew got sick and didn't show up. And wow, my family, they stepped up. My brother and my parents, they took on the other roles, camera and grip. Andrew stepped in as the extra that was supposed to be played by another guy who also didn't show up. And they helped me make it happen. They had no training. And we got it done anyway, and it's my finest film to date.
The specific video I found challenging for production was, I think from a story standpoint, it was the life after, because there was so much that I wanted to do that I didn't believe was portrayed in the original, so I just didn't upload it. But from a technical standpoint, maybe the bounty, because I couldn't be fucked to do the effects, so I was just like, it sucks.
Recency bias, this one, Gunman 6. But I guess in general, I mean, the one that I have the most bad memories with is Legends, but compared to this, it's a minor production. But that one, I just remember laying there doing nothing, and I wanting to just like, oh, I'm so bored, I want to go home, and it's horrible. But yeah.
Gunman set. It's, you know, I am older, I'm more tired, fatter. I'm a lot more fat than I used to be. So, you know, it's just more physically demanding than when I was a lot skinnier teenager.
For the specifics on any videos that were challenging to produce, I wasn't really involved with actually producing or editing the videos in any way. I feel like if I was, I would have been super OCD about things, and it would not have boded well for the people actually editing and doing it. I would think the hardest thing for me to deal with in regards to production was quality. We always were, it felt like we were always switching cameras around, and someone else was getting a different camera to actually do the filming, so it seemed like sound and video quality weren't ever the same across the board. And it would have been nice to see, like, over the years, the quality getting better and better with newer cameras, but that's not anything under my control in any way. But I'd say that was the hardest thing about production, was actually having a camera to film with.
The Purge. Because halfway through it, I just started throwing memes in there, like, okay, one last ticket to Flavor Town. Hell yeah. That's how I felt after recording that video. That shit was ass. Like, halfway through it, I was really editing it, and I was sitting there, and I was like, man, what the hell did we create? I was sitting there, I was like, man, this is hot dog shit. Who wrote the script? Who set this up? Who? Oh, hell no.
Besides all of them, maybe the Broader trilogy. Lots of just getting enough people, props, and getting everyone to stop goofing around enough to start filming.
This one for sure. The Gunman Part 6.
My biggest accomplishment, there's been a lot of them that I think, you know, I did a little video on Darth Momo just going back over the year of 2024 and all the projects and loose ends I wrapped up, but I think for me, my biggest personal accomplishment was making the DVD project. That took almost 2 months. It was a living hell just to go through. It was chaotic. It was a long, tedious process. There was a lot of discs that I had to kind of burn because it didn't come out right, or there was an issue with it. And there was a lot of videos, and I made a lot of copies of the different videos. And, you know, this is all while I'm trying to, you know, work full-time, live life, be involved in a marriage. It was a big accomplishment. I'm proud of it, but I think it'd be fair to say that my wife was going insane with me those couple months.
My biggest accomplishment would probably be the production of Shantybird. I'm really looking forward to release it because I truly think that it is the best film that I've produced. But it's also the most ambitious and the most fun. But yeah, I'm very proud of it. We actually, you know, sent it off to a bunch of film festivals. It did win one award out of all these film festivals out of Cincinnati, Ohio, which is really cool. But I'm just very proud of that. I mean, I spent $1,000 on it between me and my partner Andy, and we flew someone out from New Jersey to shoot it. We, you know, edited it in like you know, over 3 months. It was just a crazy production. We had a whole crew there. We had a slave. We had a boom operator. We had a $12,000 camera, the same camera that was used to shoot Skyfall, the James Bond movie. Not the exact same one, but the exact same model. I mean, this was big time stuff, and I was very excited to do it, and it turned out phenomenal. So that is my biggest accomplishment as a filmmaker during this era.
My biggest accomplishment as of yet is probably once again Xenobacillus. It was very well appreciated by my class. I took the script to a competition at school, and I won a 3rd place prize for the script. I've put it in several festivals worldwide, and I've actually won a few festivals with Xenobacillus. I actually won a few festivals with The Visitor as well, but I've won more with Xenobacillus. It's just, in some ways it's like the Gunman, and in other ways it's more down-to-earth dramatic. And it's just, I think it's just my best work. There's no two ways about it.
None of it. Sucked. Nah, I think, it would have to be Batman First Contact, surely, because that was just what kickstarted it all for me and Cole. Talking about it back in high school, it was like, oh, let's make this Batman film, and that's what gave us the jump start to, let's do this, let's do that. And then he started doing his thing, and you guys started doing your thing, and then nuclear films popped off.
I guess mostly starring in film. All the short films that we got. Just being able to participate in something special, like not a lot of friends be like, yo, let's just do stupid short films for fun because we got nothing else to do. We're only high schoolers for so long. So it's like being able to be a part of the process really and just understand what it's like behind the scenes and just doing something with friends.
Not every project may have been called an A-lister. You would claim that any of the finished projects lacked redeeming qualities, as all represent a beautiful display of creativity and a wonderful work of passion. Thoughts and favorites for every individual creator and or participant range all over the place for each and every one of these short films, and for a variety of reasons.
What is my favorite video I produced? This is a tough one, because there's a lot of favorites, right? I would say My Lego Rebel Life, but I don't know if people would count that or not since it's Lego. That might be just my favorite project, but since it's Lego, I could say Hunt for the Killer, but I feel like I wasn't entirely calling the shots on set with that one. I more so kind of ended up with that one because everybody else kind of abandoned it. I might say The Adventures of Darth Momo number 9. It's not great, but I personally think it's my personal favorite of the Momo series. And what I liked about it was, I remember Nick and I kind of had different, Nick Robidoux, we had different opinions on what Darth Momo should be. I wanted to try to take what the first couple shorts were and try to turn it into this, cohesive narrative. And Nick Robidoux was like, no, they're just fun, random one-off shorts. There's no continuity to it, etc. And because of that, we experimented with a bit of a comedic tone on the fourth one. So when I brought his character back from the fourth one, I decided to try and reincorporate some of those comedic bits, and I personally love it. I think it's the most rewatchable of all of them. So that might have been fun to do.
My favorite video that I've ever worked on has to be Back to the Future Part 1. That, hands down, I'll never forget that production. Working with Andrew and Josh was so fun. I'll never forget when we slammed the trash bin and it went flying into Chrissy Atkinson's camera and it fell over, and we thought we could hit Chris Atkinson's camera, but it was actually fine in the end. But the subway incident with Josh, driving down the street with Josh being stupid. I won't mention what he did, but it's iconic. Going to Goldfield, we literally went to a cowboy town to make it look like we went back in time. It was a really unique way to tell that story. But we also have funny stories about how I drove badly in there and they thought that was a bad driver. Long story, but basically I had so much fun making Back to the Future. Great cast, great crew. So if I wanted to do it again, I'd probably do Back to the Future Part 1.
A favorite video that I produced? I don't know, I have a lot of favorites. Some of the older ones, like the Harry Potter films and maybe Rodder 2, I'd say they're guilty pleasures. I know that they're not the best, but I love them anyway. But the ones that I really truly respect that I actually made, I would say things like Object of the Unknown remake from 2020 when I recast the lead with Jake. That one was pretty good, but I think the one that really tops the list is Xenobacillus. That was my capstone project for school, and it shows, I think. I think that's definitely my best work, and I hope I can top it. Otherwise, this will be a real short career.
My favorite video I produced. None of them. Nah. The behind the scenes, I think I had a lot more fun editing because it was just more us goofing off and me being able to joke around with everything more and have fun with the footage. So I had more fun editing and playing around with those and rewatching them. It's always a good time.
Personally, I like the horror movie I made that never got released because I like horror. And it was like one of the few that any of our channels would do. But then we just never finished it. I didn't think it didn't probably turn out good. We'll never know because the footage is gone. But I enjoyed the process. We filmed at an abandoned house. It probably was bad, but it was fun.
El Quattro. You should check it out. It's a video that I did. It's great. I got to express myself in that one, so that was nice. It's also nice having help from friends, bring it all together and make it.
I don't know if I can take credit for any of the Batman ones, but they were fun to work on. I want to say it was a third or fourth one was pretty fun to work on, because I did the writing on that, and so it is fun to try to take that writing and then try to make it actually make sense to actual human beings working in an environment instead of just being on a page somewhere.
Alright, just for throwbacks, I'm gonna say the third. That's all I gotta say. Go look it up on YouTube. It's up there, unfortunately. But you'll like it.
My favorite video I didn't produce. See, this is tough because we've made about 200 videos, give or take. I think there might be a bit more than that. And there's so many good ones. There's a lot of duds, but there's so many good ones. But I think I might have to give it to Hunter. He never made a lot of videos, but El Quattro, that's what he called it when I did the interview with him, but I thought it was always just called Episode 1, The Escape, because that's all he ever called it on YouTube. That was just... He kind of just came out of left field with that one. I think it's one of our most rewatchable videos to this day. I think it holds up really well. Like, there's some, like, Batman one and Back to the Future one where it's like, these really aren't that great of videos, but they're just fun and they're classics. But I think the Escape, the Episode 1 Escape, it's just very rewatchable. It holds up well, it aged well, it was executed well, directed well. It's just a fun short. I've probably seen that almost 50 times. Like, I can just put that on at any time. And I love it. It's awesome.
My favorite project to be involved in that I did not produce would probably be Campers. That was so much fun. I remember, the whole idea of it, Nick pitched it. It was basically, a video game-esque idea where, we were basically inside the game, and then when we died, the main character on the outside was all pissed. But I had so much fun making that. I was, there with Nick on set, and we were just messing around with guns, and I don't know, the film turned out so well. So that was probably the best film that I didn't produce, that I had so much fun to make, and that turned out so well.
My favorite film that I did not have a creative hand in. That's a tough one. Band Room Duel. That one was pretty fun. That was regrettably not my idea. Cole pitched that one to me, and I'm just like, yeah, let's do that. That was cool. That was a good one, but that was like more of a skit. As for like films, a couple of the later Mission Impossibles I thought were pretty good. Especially the fifth one. Had a couple of issues, but I liked that one a lot. People keep saying all this fancy stuff about Shantybird. I wonder when I'm actually going to get a chance to see this thing.
Favorite video I didn't produce is probably My Lego Rebel Life. That's a lie. I was lying. No, shit. Oh man, there's so many. What's that one Chris did? That was oh my god, The Purge.
I'm a bit of a narcissist, so it has to be one of the ones I made, obviously. One of my favorite one that I didn't produce, I want to say It, just because they let me do whatever I want, and I was in makeup. It was disgusting, and I definitely am embarrassed by watching it nowadays. But hell, I was in makeup, and I got to be in a sewer and dragging people. So honestly, that was just the first one that came to mind.
That would probably be Mission Impossible, just because there was a lot of fun stunts in it that Cole put together for us, and it was a really fun story. I just did behind.
My favorite video being in, was it's either Mission Impossible 3, when I got to drive the Mazda around, even though I probably shouldn't have. I don't think I had my driver's license. I think I had my permit, but you guys let me drive anyway, which was silly. Or, oh gosh, I want to say it was one of the, I think it's called Rodder, one of the Rodder films that we did. That was a lot of fun. We had fun at the park, getting to shoot airsoft guns at each other and whatnot. That one was a lot of fun to film. That one took probably the longest, at least for me being there. That or the like Harry Potter spoof we did. Gosh, I don't even remember that one that much, but that one was a lot of fun too. Probably it's hard to choose a favorite. It really is. I don't know how I would even. Yeah, choosing is difficult.
I want to say the Pirates one. I thought that was pretty neat.
I'd say my favorite film that has been created is probably by Cole Steiner, the first Batman movie. That was probably that was a good one.
Oh, that'd probably have to be named. It's something. It was a video that anyone from like all ages could get into. Like, showed it to my grandma, and she laughed her head off.
Either Back to the Future or Hunt for the Killer. Just because, Hunt for the Killer was just kind of crazy, and then the Back to the Future was just fun to film. Just crazy again.
Favorite video I wasn't in? Any of the other Mission Impossibles, or I don't know. The Mission Impossibles are probably some of my favorites. There's a newer one that I saw, Xeno something. I don't actually remember the name of it. That one was really high quality. That one's a lot more recent. And gosh, it would have been fun to be doing a zombie apocalypse video like that one was.
Some old ones, probably Finger Gun. I like that one. And then Pop-Tart one. Old one.
My favorite script I wrote. I did write a script actually. It never got produced. It probably will never get produced. Maybe I'll publish it as like a script book or something. I don't know. It was called A Friend's Vengeance. It was actually a trilogy. I worked on it over the course of probably about 2 years. It is full length. Like, I've gone back and I've formatted it to a script, a similar, like a professional script as far as the writing style of it, and it's full length. It's about, each of them range between 120 and 140 pages. I wouldn't say the writing's the strongest. It's definitely not perfect. It's definitely first draft material. It's pretty much what they were. They were first drafts. But it was just fun because it was basically me kind of putting my friends and I in a real world scenario. It wasn't putting us in Star Wars or Back to the Future, it was putting us in this original scenario. So that was really fun to write and go through. So I don't know, maybe it'll see the light of day, maybe not. Who knows?
What's my favorite script I've written? Probably The Hostage. I had a lot of fun with that script. I was very inspired by Quentin Tarantino when I wrote that, and I even put one of Quentin Tarantino's songs in that film. But I think I just wanted to go a little bit more serious, down a serious route, and that was The Hostage. Like, it literally starts out just a still shot of this abandoned overpass, and then a car comes driving in. Like, I remember writing that and loving that idea, and someone just falling out of the car. It's just all very visual, and I love writing very visual storytelling as well. So I think that's one of my favorite scripts to write. Plus, there was a lot of people involved in that script, so it was a lot of fun to make as well.
Well, my favorite script. In terms of produced scripts, I would say, once again, it's Xenobacillus. I just love it to death. It did so well with everyone. But if you look at some unproduced scripts that I have a mini-series called Shattered Planet. I actually started work on it in high school with the help of Josh and Nick. But it didn't end up taking off very well because we quickly realized that we had absolutely no handle on the budget it would call for. So we shelved it, and then in college, there was a project where I needed to work on some kind of mini-series for the writing class, and I decided to resurrect Shattered Planet, and I wrote, as of this interview, I've written the first 4 episodes. They're now proper length, and I think it's really good, and I hope that I can produce it someday, take it to Netflix or something.
My favorite script that I wrote that I haven't uploaded is called Modus. It'll be in theaters 2027. Hunter knows about it. Great film, amazing protagonist, better antagonist. He gets it. Or script that I have wrote, I guess that was filmed. Beaner Goes Full Beam. Shit. I don't know, none of them else sucked.
Script I wrote, probably Gunman, since I worked with Yackerson and Cole on the original ones, and I was able to put so much input into it. And then also rewriting 6, and essentially writing the one big confrontation scene between my character, Yackerson's character, and Cole's character. That was probably my favorite script.
It's funny, it's the only script I wrote, which was The Purge.
Honestly, when it comes to who my favorite character was, it's interesting because I played a lot of characters, but there's not really any that kind of just jump out at me like, boom, that was my favorite instantly. But, you know, I might go with Snapshot from Deathstroke. And it's interesting because Deathstroke was just such a minor video. I was such a minor character in it. Deathstroke's one that really hasn't aged well at all. It was not really that good. But, you know, I'm an actor. I did acting in high school for 3.5 years. I was in 3 of the school plays. A lot of our videos were very much just kind of, you know, follow the script, etc. And Snapshot was very much just an extra. And I took that extra and I chose to give him some personality just with his little 20-second monologue. And I remember, like, it was just fun getting to incorporate some of that improv in there and acting skills that I'd been working with in school and drama. And I remember I must have impressed Chris and Cole so much because after that they're like, okay, well, we're not going to kill off Snapshot. We're just going to injure him because you're cool now. That was awesome what you just did. I don't want to kill you off now.
My favorite character I've portrayed would hands down be the Gunman. The Gunman is an original, unique character that I came up with. And something about just, you know, the design and the character and the fact that it's original, I just love. Obviously, I've played a lot of like the mainstream big cinema characters like Han Solo, Indiana Jones, James Bond. But as much as those have been really fun, the Gunman is always hands down the best because I just feel so unique. I love being in this like wasteland, apocalyptic kind of scene, dressed as a cowboy, having these unique colors and you know, costume design on me. And just the films themselves, like the people involved, the locations, I just think it's so much better. And plus there's a lot more of them too, so that's also a factor. You know, I played that character more than I played Han Solo, obviously, but yeah, I would hands down say the Gunman is my favorite character too that I played.
I mean, there's a few different characters that I really loved playing. I mean, Preston was a lot of fun, especially later on when he started to get cooler. But I don't think it's him. I only had to play him twice, but the Riddler was really standout for me. I loved being the Riddler, and I think that shows that I had a lot of fun being him. Captain Rodder was a lot of fun as well, and not very challenging on the acting side. You know, all he has to be is stern and gruff, and it's really easy. I just wish that I had been, you know, maybe a little bit more fit when I was playing the legendary action hero.
Favorite character I've portrayed? Slave in Gunman 6. I quite liked, definitely Rodder 2. That's it. That's my answer. Full stop.
Well, it's definitely Lucius, but that's probably Luke recency bias. I just feel like my acting matured the most. I was able to do a lot with him, and I think there's definitely some good tense scenes and some good funny scenes. My death was fun, and I think overall, even though today was kind of painful, today filming Gunman 6, it was fun Second place would probably be the Pirates of the Lost Prime because, yeah.
I would. That's close. I'd say it's either Alfred, just because like I've done that so much, but it's also pretty close with whatever character I did in the Gunman, the original one. Because it was like this Texas guy, and I had fun with the Texas accent.
My favorite character that I portrayed, it was kind of just me and Yackerson. We did this really short video. I think he called it the interrogation room. Basically, I was just locked up to what looked like a saw table, and I'm looking around the garage, and there's like weapons and torture devices all over the place, and there's this gosh, it looked like some kind of tall tripod or something that had a bucket and like a black rag or cape thrown over it, and I see a character in that, like I'm kind of hallucinating. And then the garage opens up and lets all the light in, and then he sits down and he's like, we have a lot to talk about. And I'm like, I don't think I even had any lines. It was just like physical acting and dealing with what it would be like mentally and physically in an interrogation room. But it was really simple. That would have to be one of my favorite characters that I've portrayed.
I liked who I was in the Star Wars videos. I think those were fun to make. They were terrible in hindsight, but I had a lot of fun playing in them, doing that.
Who did I even play as? That is so long ago. I'd say it's definitely a Mission Impossible movie and Hunter's zombie movie. That was pretty sick. Until I hit my knee on the damn latch of the trunk. I think that's where my knee pain started.
I'd say that would have to be the Penguin. Even though it was shot in like July, wearing tux with a pillow under it, trying to look a little fat. It was really hot, but it was actually kind of like a leading role. Didn't get that very often, so.
Definitely the one in Galaxy Wars. I know I give that a bunch of crap, but you know, I had a huge part in it. So somewhat the main character. I might have been the main character, if you remember correctly. But yeah.
But with the era at an end and all eyes now set squarely on future paths, with the past now set firmly in the past, it leaves time for the reflection and a look back on things that could have been done differently and things that went well.
My biggest regret, honestly, was not being better at film preservation. I think within myself, I did a decent job. You know, I've stored all my original footage from all my John Movies projects. I've stored all the little Movie Maker reels, all the files. I've stored all my videos. I think for managing my own stuff, I pretty much did pretty good at film preservation, but I could have done better with preserving some of our collaborative works. I've worked over the last couple of years to kind of build up an archive of everything to preserve it, but some of it I didn't act soon enough. There have been videos that have been lost to time. Not that many, but there have been a couple. There were some that footage got deleted and lost. Some of it, well, I wouldn't say any of that was my fault, but it's still just such a tragic shame, you know, to begin with. You know, I value film preservation. These are our work. This is works of passion. You know, they may not be that great. They may not be A-listers, but, you know, there's passion and creativity and just memories that come from all of this. And to know that some of these have been lost is truly heartbreaking. And it's something that I think about all the time, and I truly regret. And no matter how much I tell myself there's nothing I can do about it, I will never stop thinking about what could I have done to save these videos.
My biggest regret throughout these years is, I would say that I feel like, you know, improvement could have come a lot quicker. I think, you know, there was a point where we were in high school, and I'll bring back the Mission Impossible series for this. I think there was a point where I started to realize that, you know, parroting is not something I should keep doing. So do I regret parroting a lot of films? No, but I do kind of regret that I didn't do more original work. I have a lot of original work, but I think my parodying outweighs the original work, so I do regret that. I feel like, I loved and I was inspired by so much other franchises that instead of making my own new work that takes inspiration, I did a lot of parodying. So at the end of the day, for example, like Back to the Future, one of my favorite franchises that we did, I love that we did that, and I'll never, regret doing it, but I do wish that, as we got older and this era started to phase out, I do wish I did a little bit more of original content, and that not only that, but it was just higher quality. Because I do think, like, even out of high school and into college, I still think that some of that could have been a lot better. But now we're at Gunman 6, now we're at Shiny Bird. I mean, obviously we're there now, right? But I do kind of regret that some of those older films had better audio, better equipment, and so on.
Well, besides like little things like wishing this film was made better and wishing that film was made better and that shot worked better and that this shot wasn't out of focus, I think more overarching regrets would be just wishing I had done more in general. Everybody's moving apart now. We're growing up. We're moving away. We're starting our lives as adults. And what we did there will never come again. So I think my greatest regret is not having done more. Not having made more films. Especially original works.
The Purge. No, I'm joking. My biggest regret, not continuing, not making videos and not giving effort to a lot of the ideas that I wanted to do, but didn't think were good enough. Because I think I still could have learned a lot from the things that I wanted to do.
Biggest regret? Not finishing those 2 films, because even though they're embarrassing, I still would like to see them. I guess another regret is that we just didn't make more films. I mean, we all moved on, but it'd be nice to make more adult film. I guess more mature films, not just the Batman parodies. By the time I got into it, it was near the end, and we didn't make a whole lot of mature films.
Biggest regret would probably be not doing more. I feel like we could have done more videos if given the opportunity, and spread it out more.
My biggest regret would have to be probably the Alex Rhodes video again. Having to jump over the fence, I remember it hurting. I remember having to do it multiple times. I remember feeling really silly in a lot of filming that. It turned out pretty good for all things considered. But I think my biggest regret was not prepping better on doing my own stunts.
I don't really have any, to be honest. It was the thing that happened, and I don't really worry about the past. I don't really have any regrets about anything.
Not being there enough, really. Or just not being available like everybody else.
Looking back on things with hindsight, though, I think one thing I'd do differently is try to better differentiate Jaw Movies and Darth Momo. Darth Momo was pretty much just the fun Star Wars themed YouTube channel. Jaw Movies was what I really wanted to do with short films. That's what I wanted that to be called. If I made it big someday, I wanted my company to be called Jaw Movies. And I tried to press that with Batman 1. Nick asked me for my logo, and I sent him the Jaw Movies logo. But I didn't have my computer with me. I was at my mom's house, so I had to do it on my phone and send it over message, and it really kind of trimmed down the quality of the file. And he's like, well, your intro was giving me the spooks, so I just made you a new one. But instead of using Jaw Movies, you used Darth Momo. And that from that point on, I advertised them as separate entities, but almost like the same. Every video had the Darth Momo and Jaw Movies stamp on it that I made. But because of that, everybody else just kind of called me Darth Momo. And Jaw Movies really got left in the dust because of that. And I've tried to do better over the last couple of years of building the Jaw Movies image, and I think I've been doing all right. But it's almost like a too little too late. All my short films and everything went on the Darth Momo, so when people ask me for my YouTube channel, generally I was giving them Darth Momo, and I kind of wish I didn't do that. I wish I kept things exclusive to Jaw Movies and not on Darth Momo. I also think that, and I've kind of gone back on this, in recent years, but for a while it was pretty much like, if you were in it, upload the video. It doesn't matter who created it, who wrote it, who directed it. If you were in it, upload it. And I wasn't the only one with that mentality, but I helped influence that and spread that mentality, and I really regret that. I wish we had more exclusivity amongst our works, and because of that, I've taken down from John Movies everything that I didn't exclusively create. Like, if it was something I produced, it's on John Movies. If I wasn't producing it and I was just in it, it's off John Movies. It's off Darth Momo. It's not there anymore. I know others might feel differently, but I really wish everybody else would kind of hone to that mentality. And I've done my best to kind of spread that mentality since. But again, it's another too little, too late. I think I could have done better. Just say like, hey, no, he created that video. Only he should upload it. No, you're the only creator of that. You should only have that on your channel. Those would be kind of things I'd do differently in hindsight.
Something I would do different, if I could go back and redo it all, would probably be, not losing everyone along the way. There's a lot of people that I worked with throughout these films that I just don't talk to anymore. And at the end of the day, like, I think we need to step back and look at the era as a whole. It's not just about filmmaking. It's more about the fun and the people that were involved, right? Like, because of this, we had a whole group of friends, and I had so much fun with everyone. And I feel like most people don't have this kind of environment, especially in high school. Like what we had was special. I really do think it was unique, and most people don't go through that. And we had a whole group of people that we were just making films every weekend, having fun. But a lot of them, I don't see them anymore. And I know you move on and everything, that makes sense. But these are people that were in the same world as me. Like, they loved films, they loved acting. So I wish if I could go back and tell myself, like, hey, keep on to a lot of these people, or at least try to. I would.
In hindsight, if I could do it again, I think I would probably have done less fan film stories. As much as the Batman films were a blast, and the Indiana Jones films were fun, and the Mission Impossible films, at least the later ones, were top notch. I think I wish we had done more original stuff like Captain Rodder and Object of the Unknown and The Gunman, because it's the real art of cinema. It's making your own thing, start to finish, and showing it to the world and seeing how they take it.
Something I do different with hindsight is I would just do more in general, do more period to gain more experience, and film more and have more content in general that I could look back on.
Not being legends. Nah, I'm joking. I'd probably, again, release those 2 films and finish them. At least take the footage for Fedora Man 2 and hold on to it, even if I'm not going to edit it. And then just maybe write more films, because I do like writing. It's just I'm lazy.
So if I would do it different, it's definitely being more prepared. We definitely winged a lot of things over the years. I felt like more time and effort could have gone into preparation.
Something I would do differently with hindsight, in Object the Unknown, so many of my physical mannerisms, with digging, with talking to the doctor, with dealing with agents pointing guns at me, I feel like I would have had a very different physical response with the knowledge and acting skill I have now, looking back on that. I almost want to, request we refilm the whole thing and get proper camera equipment and sound equipment and all of that, and do it again with consistent quality and all that. That would be what I'd have to choose for doing something again in hindsight.
In hindsight, I'd put more time into the things that I didn't the last time around. Put more focus on getting better at editing, getting better at writing. I didn't really put the time in to get really good at anything.
Make more. Honestly, I should have made more instead of just the one that was. Well, no, we also got the news. Oh, that was lit. Dang. Make more news videos, because that was lit. That was lit.
I would probably try to speak up a bit more, because back with most of those films, I was very soft-spoken and didn't really project my voice very well, so I didn't really get very many speaking roles.
acting better in Galaxy Wars and maybe making sure we never did that.
I think as far as my improvement over the last almost decade, I think it's just how I've made films. I mean, it's easy to just kind of throw that out there. It's such a generic statement, but it's true. When you look at, excluding the stuff I did with my stuffed animals when I was younger, if you look at Galaxy War, I made that in 2014. I literally had my radio on the set, playing my soundtrack. I didn't know anything about editing or how to compile a video. I pretty much was just shooting all the clips, and then I finally kind of learned of Movie Maker, and I just put them all in there and exported it. Like, I really didn't know anything about editing with credits, fine-tuning some of the editing, how to do special effects or green screen or any of that. If you look at the way that I compile videos nowadays as opposed to 2014 when I did Galaxy War, it's night and day difference, and that's clearly my biggest improvement.
How have I improved the most? I would say I understand now what it actually means to be a filmmaker. And what I mean by that is, before I just showed up to set and I started shooting with my camera. That's not a filmmaker. A filmmaker needs to be prepared. A filmmaker needs to lay it all out, have discipline, have control of the set, direct people, direct his crew, be a leader. These are all things that you can apply to everyday life. And I feel like back in the day when we first started, we literally just showed up and started shooting something. And I think the most improvement is the fact that I know now, like, hey, you can't just do that. You have to, you have to write this all out. You have to, plan every detail. You, like, everything, like the camera work, how far away is the actor? Is he in focus? What shot size are we using? Or do we have a slate? Where, are we going to use a boom? Just all these things. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of work that goes into filmmaking, and I feel like that's where I improve the most is, becoming someone that understands what it means to actually make a film. And I'm really happy about that. I know everyone else has improved as well. Chris Yackerson, for example, just came out with this great film, Xenoboculus. I probably botched the name, but you watch that film, you can see a lot of great camera or great filmmaking dynamics in there. Like, you got dollying, you got people actually in focus. We never did that before. So I would say I'm in the same way. I feel like I've improved just my filming technique.
How have I improved the most? I'm not sure. I think I've improved in a lot of ways. If you look at some of my early works and some of my more recent works, I think I've improved a lot in terms of cinematography, writing, and my own personal acting. But of the three, I think I would probably say cinematography.
I hope I improved the most. I have not, because I haven't been regularly uploading. I think I could, but I don't, because I suck.
I think I've definitely gotten better at acting, and I think I've definitely also gotten better at cinematography, directing, writing. I think all around I've gotten better as a filmmaker. And it also helps that I watch movies a lot, and so I learn from those, and I try to apply them here. So I've been trying to take a lot of initiative with this film and trying to add my own spin to the shots we take. So I tried to see if I've really improved and see how it looks, So I think I've improved overall as a filmmaker.
Grown up. Time's gone by, and saying that I appreciate the time I get to spend with people more so than actually getting the finished video in the end.
How have I improved the most? I think I've improved the most in my professionality, for lack of a better word or descriptive word for that. I feel like I've spent a lot of time honing in on my acting skills and my communication skills, which really helps with working with people. So definitely my professionalism in doing any kind of performance of any kind.
I think a lot of it is writing, because you start off not knowing anything about anything. You can take classes, you can do whatever, but at the end of the day, you just have to put pen to paper and write something. And then you start that, and then eventually, like anything, you do that enough, and people tell you what works and what doesn't, you get better at it.
Okay, so I haven't made any films since high school. I think that was the golden era. It was 2017 to 2018 was us making films. And then after that, I pursued and did my own thing, like YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, all of that. So I'd say, like, in a sense, I took everything that I learned from filmmaking and I put it somewhere else. And so far it's been pretty good. 1.5K on TikTok, so, you know, we're going up there.
But perhaps more important, as some may have already stated, were the memories made along the way. At the heart of each and every one of these productions were friends having fun, and the memories formed on set and behind the scenes often live on far longer than the memory of any one individual finished short film.
What's my funnest memory? I mean, everything's been a great memory. Honestly, even the rough stuff. Like, I'll never regret any of this, but I think my funnest memory is probably going to be the 2016 shooting of Object of the Unknown. Which, I mean, it sucks. Cole wasn't there. Cole's been a big part of our videos, so he wasn't there. He was kind of the only major player that wasn't there. But everyone else was there, and it was just, I remember having such a fun time. You know, Nick was being Nick and having some fun on set, and that just helped lift spirits all around and make it a fun experience. There's a lot of fun bloopers that came out of that. Some of the shots came out really well. All in all, I just think Object of the Unknown might be my favorite memory from all the films.
So my funnest memory, geez, throughout all this time from 2016 to now. Honestly, you know what I'll say? I'll say my funnest memory was the very beginning. I'll say that, like, on day one when we were together for Batman, I'll never forget it. Like, it just felt like a new era started. I remember showing up to Nick's house, meeting you, meeting Chris, being in that Batman costume, and just having so much fun on that first day. You know, driving around the car after it was all shot. I think I'll never forget that. Just the moment of how I felt entering this era. Man, and what it spawned too. So that might be why, because of nostalgia, just because like wow, like here was this Batman film that we did together and it was so much fun and look what it turned into. So I would say the most memorable piece of all this was from day one. And honestly, that film is not that bad, and I think that's what made it so much more memorable too. I remember when Nick showed me the copy, I was like, wow, like this actually didn't turn out too bad. So I think I'm always gonna love the day one of when this all started the most.
My funnest memory of filming? I don't know, I've had a lot of good ones. I don't even know if the funnest memories are on set. They might have been after. We've done a lot of funny things. Let's see, oh, I remember when we filmed Cole's Matrix film. I'll bet he took it down, but it's still on my channel. We were dying. I think it was July, and we were filming all out in the bright sun. So we went to one another fast food restaurant and we got 16 water cups. That was fun.
Oh man, my funnest memory. Gee. None of it. It all sucked. Nah, I'm joking. I think, honestly, my funnest memory of it all is, it wasn't really the filming, but it was the fact that the films kept us all together. You know, it gave us something to strive for and be an excuse to hang out together and be together. It was very nice, very fun, all of it.
I mean, there's definitely like, I'd say I'd mix it into two eras. I'd mix it like high school and then post high school. My favorite in high school was definitely my first big role in Pirates of the Lost Prime. That was definitely fun. I think one of the most fun because I was able to doing ad lib and all that, and it was pretty cool. Post high school, I think honestly, just based on what I just did, it could be recency bias. I don't know, but honestly, today I loved being in my Lucius shoes. But if that doesn't count in case of recency bias, I'd say probably doing the various stuff at Cole's newer house when he was in college, being asked, oh, you want to do in this project? Heck yeah, I do.
I'd say just being able to spend time with friends along the way. It was the way that we got to bond over the years by doing all these videos together and just like being able to hang out together.
My most fun memory with doing the short films with Palmer and Yackerson and Steiner and that whole group of guys. It was probably one of the more recent short films that we did. The Object of the Unknown. It was 3 years ago. I had a very short part, but the short part I did have, it was a lot of fun to just be out and be in it again, especially after being gone for as long as I was for that weird period of time. Yeah, I would say doing Object of the Unknown was the most fun memory I have, is actually getting back into doing short filming with everybody.
I think it's a bit of a tricky one. I've been part of that a long time, but that was a long time ago too. I'd say the funnest one was we were doing Zeke, I want to say, and it was just a lot of it was just trying to figure out how the shot would work at the time, because it's all voiceover, just getting cuts and things. So that was really fun, trying to figure out how to block that out so it looked good with no dialogue or sound whatsoever, how to make that make sense.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this is fucked up. My funnest memory was when we were on the golf cart with Nick, and we were going to pick, we were picking up somebody, and then Josh face planted and fell, and we were like, bro, what? And then we go to school the next day and Josh has stitches, and we're like, bro, what? Holy, that was a trip and a half.
Funnest memory probably to have been during the filming of Harry Potter Hogwarts Crisis. I was sort of one of the main characters, but it was just one of the films where I didn't die, so it was like, I died so many times in those films.
Funnest memory probably have to be Back to the Future. Definitely that. Did that not too long ago. Had some pretty fond memories besides the heat. Otherwise, yeah.
While the era of collaborative filmmaking for this group of friends and amateurs may be over, it's only a matter of time until another one arises, as opportunities for content creating only continue to grow. What's some advice you give to the next generation of amateur filmmakers?
Don't film in the summer in Arizona.
If you put your mind to it, you'll be able to do anything, really. Just give it your best shot, really. That's all I can say.
Some advice I'd give is do the cool thing. That's to elaborate a little bit. It doesn't matter if you think it's dumb, if you think it's silly. Do the thing that you want to do. A lot of people get focused on, especially getting to YouTube, getting views and clicks and likes and subscribers. None of that really matters. If you make the thing that you want to make and put your best effort into making it, someone will watch it. Because if you're just doing it for clicks or likes or subscribers, it doesn't matter, because it's not made because you want to make it. It's made because an algorithm tells you you should make it.
Ask if you can get the script beforehand, actually practice lines. Otherwise, I mean, try to keep camera quality consistent. Like, if you can actually take the time to invest in a good camera setup and a good microphone, or like mic lapels or something, what have you, I think that would really help with getting into it. You feel a little bit more confident when your quality and sound are consistent across the board.
Realize that it's not a job, it's a hobby. Don't expect to turn it into anything other than, a fun time with friends.
Have some balls. That's what I gotta say. That's one of the issues I've had with this group, is I feel like there's sometimes not enough cojones. You gotta take risks. A lot of filmmakers right now are sterilized and studio based, and a lot of the old-timey directors, and it's harder now, but I mean, honestly, if you are able to go do more quote guerrilla filmmaking, where you're able to do whatever you want and kind of wing it, ad-lib it, then those come out with the most authentic movies. And one of my favorite quotes is by my favorite director, Werner Herzog. Filmmakers should be wardens of insane asylums and bouncers of nightclubs, because they've lived life, they know how to do life, and I'm not saying you need that, but have some life in your movies. Don't just be sterilized.
The advice that I would give to the next generation of amateur filmmakers: just do it. You might talk about doing it a lot, but if you don't just do it, you'll never be able to make the mistakes to learn from the mistakes. So you just got to do it.
Budget is important, but it is not your priority. I mean, you need to have a camera that's good enough, but what's more important is the talent of the cinematography, good writing, and a good team. And just the will to get it done. Those are the things that are most important.
Some advice I would give to the next generation of amateur filmmakers would probably be, make sure you really take your time with it. We rushed a lot. Like I remember in high school, I was talking with Chris Yackerson. I'm like, we got to make another one. We got to make another one. Let's make Batman 4, 5, 6. Let's make Jurassic Park. Let's make this, and this. And I think we were just kind of pumping them out like a machine. Whereas what we should have done is we should have really focused on original ideas and not pumping them out so often. Like maybe we actually take our time and write an interesting story. We get a bunch of people involved. We make sure all the schedules aligned. And I mean, I know we're in high school, but at the same time, I do kind of wish we had a better equipment, better writing, better acting. So what I would say to you is, if you are going to do this, take your time with it, because the era does go by quickly, and you want to look back at these films and want to. I mean, obviously, I love looking back at them, but they are bad and very cringy. So make sure you don't have that. Make sure you develop, but you develop a lot quicker.
I think some advice I'd give to the next generation. Oh my goodness. Some advice, I'd give all the advice. Honestly, go for it. Don't ever give up, whatever gets in your way. There's a lot of times that I didn't get to finish projects, but I made sure to finish it to the best of my ability. Always finish what you can. It's not over till it's over, Make sure to be good at preservation. Preserve everything. Just at the end of the day, it's very easy for all of us to sit back and just look and say, hey, that was bad, that didn't come out well, oh, these are cringe, and a lot of them are. A lot of them didn't come out that well, a lot of them didn't age well, a lot of them kind of are cringe. But all of them just represent, just this spark of creativity, of passion, all these important things that I think are really lost in modern day Hollywood. And it doesn't matter how stupid you might think it is, cherish it, hold on to it, never let it go. I've got people that try to cover up some of their work. They say, oh, that's cringe, it's bad, people don't want it. And there have been several of my associates that have taken down their videos. And I would never, ever recommend doing that, because it's a learning curve. It's good to show your progress. But I think just on top of that, every video is special. And just remember that, none of these are truly bad. They can be bad, but they're not at the same time. All videos are good. There's flaws, but everything is just unique and it's special, and don't ever just throw that away. Hold on to it and cherish it forever.
2016 to 2025 marked a beautiful time of growth and memories for these young filmmakers that will always be something special. But part of what makes something special is the fact that it is limited. As sad as it may be, the era is over. But by no means does that mean the future is dull. If anything, the work of these young lads is evidence of what one can make of their lives as long as they try, a sentiment that hopefully may inspire generations to come. We must accept the end of something old in order to begin to build something new. We can't be afraid to give up the good in order to go for something great. But for any who wish to look back on these wonderful years of filmmaking together, of amazing friendship, of life-lasting memories, and of youthful creativity, the legacy will live on, and the short films will always be here.